Educating students in rural settings is an important part of public education in America. More than half of all school districts and a third of all public schools are in rural areas. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, over 12 million students attend a rural public elementary or secondary school, accounting for 25% of all public school students. Unrecognized by most Americans and often overshadowed by the nation's attention to dropout challenges in urban settings, more than one-fifth of public schools in rural America have higher than average dropout rates. Because of their remote locations and more limited resources, schools in rural communities often have less access to high-quality technical assistance than schools in other communities. For this reason, the U.S. Department of Education's High School Graduation Initiative program provided dropout prevention support and technical assistance to grantees and districts across the country. This video highlights dropout prevention efforts in rural districts and schools in Maine. Reaching all students is a key element of Maine's Department of Education strategic plan. To support this goal, the state legislature established the Truancy Dropout and Alternative Education Committee, TDAE, to advise state and local policy on these key concerns of dropout prevention. Comprised of members that include state and community-level experts in school leadership, counseling, substance abuse treatment, and alternative learning, the TDAE supports schools in developing dropout prevention committees and plans. Drawing on the knowledge and experience of its members and national experts, the committee provides guidance, best practices, and an expanding toolkit of online resources to help schools ensure the success of all learners.
The TDAE is an advisor to the Commissioner of Education, and our work is really to be advocates for individuals who are disengaged in school, and certainly inform the Commissioner about trends that are happening in our state, issues of rural dropout, issues of poverty that actually exacerbate students' ability to stay in school. So we are here as a team of educators helping the Commissioner and DOE understand what's really going on in our communities.
Having kids get a diploma doesn't necessarily change their lives. It's the learning that they have to demonstrate to get the diploma that shows that they've learned and done more. And I think a big focus for us as we move forward, there is a tremendous awareness, and a lot of studies have shown the value of education doesn't stop anymore at high school. What used to be a high school diploma and what it used to do for you in terms of the workforce and the rest of your life is just not enough any longer. And so we are more encouraging kids into a 1, 2, 3-year community college work, a 4-year college degree, a licensure in some field or other. And to the extent we still have students who aren't making it to the diploma, when the diploma really is not what it used to be in terms of a guarantee of success and employment and so on, we really need to bring those folks at least to that point, to give them the opportunity to explore some post-secondary work. And so all of that is informed through our research and data that tells us what we need to do and how we need to get those kids who in many cases are capable of getting a licensure, a secondary, post-secondary degree, but just need some more encouragement, need some English language learning, need to know what the value it is to them to continue their education, and then apply that to what it is they choose to do.
On the state committee is to try to bring some of the experiences we've had, and I hear that a lot from the other members of the committee, and figure out how to make that more global. And for me, it's all about attitude. It really starts with an attitude about how people feel about the population that we're talking about. And so I want to be able to take the experience that I've had locally with the things that happen. And we are a small state. I think that works to us to our advantage in terms of being able to reach out to people. I think people think of Maine as a big state, but realistically, it's not that big. And we're probably far more similar than we are diverse in all ways. So the state committee, I think, really provides us an opportunity to take the successes of schools and school systems that are happening locally, bring them all together and put them together in a presentation, package, message, whatever term you want to use, that can be used throughout the state. And for me, really, it begins with changing that whole attitude about making it not okay to deal with kids who just are disenfranchised with school or just want to get out. So I see a real direct connection there.
I guess, we have to follow law and policy. So if our policy is to have a dropout prevention committee in every district, then we need to support districts in that way. So as a group here, we all bring a different view on what that committee how they should function in their district.
Lots of diverse perspectives coming from the various stakeholders that are on the group. And I think that's one of the things that's really powerful. As we come in, we talk about what's happening locally, and then try to figure out. I think we're not trying to create a one-size-fits-all, but I think we look for the common threads of what's successful. And then I hope it'll never be our intent to sort of tell people how to do a dropout prevention committee, but to share kind of what's been through the experiences that different people bring to the committee, what's been the common threads of places that have been successful. How do we get here? They didn't go from 8th grade to 9th grade and all of a sudden become a dropout. It doesn't happen that way. Those are the types of experiences and conversations we have as a committee that I think really make it very objective and broad-based.
It's critical work because when we support our students in the state, it needs to be all students, not just some students, not just the kids that go through school easily, round pegs and round holes, all students. And so the work of the TDA is critical in helping educators, administrators, the community understand some of the challenges that are facing our students and to help us look for strategies that can support their needs. People go into education because they want to help students be successful. And I believe that when we can show them things that work, that make a difference, that they're willing to make the change needed. And I believe that when we provide those same types of examples and models that educators, administrators see can work and can make a difference for the kids in their schools and their districts, that they too will be more willing to accept the change.
And so with all this information about, keeping kids in school and connected to school and bullying prevention, what information could those teachers who already know how to connect to students use to enhance that? And then what information that teachers who still need to work on developing relationships, and what does that really mean? What could they use as well?
Through her work with the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act program, WIO, TDAE committee member Janie Small uses a variety of supports to help young clients complete school and obtain employment.
I work at the Maine Department of Labor, and we are the operators of the Workforce Investment Act program, which is now the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And I work with youth, and I cover all of Washington County, which is very big. My job is to work with youth 14 to 24 and to assist them in any barriers they have to overcome their school or employment needs. I love my job. I change and enhance lives every day. There's nothing better in this world than my job. And I get to see them graduate high school, help them through college. We have money to help pay tuition, books, fees, childcare if they need it, transportation if they need it to go back and forth to school. Everything's fixable. And I help them believe in themselves and to make their dreams come true.
It makes you feel like they just want what they know that you can achieve. That somebody gives you high expectations, that actually means more than somebody who would give you low expectations for yourself, because they know you can accomplish it and you can do it. That's why we expect so much of you.
The relationships are incredibly important, and you hear from several of the students I've worked with over the last few years, they had a relationship with that one person, that one connectedness, that one someone in that building who tapped into that student's spark and inspired them and had high aspirations for them, and they wanted to achieve and they wanted to go higher and higher and higher. So the relationships are very critical, I believe, in dropout prevention.
Honed from work in their different fields, TDAE members bring successful strategies and practices to their committee activities. The Real School, an alternative school situated on Falmouth Island in Maine, demonstrates many best practices of dropout prevention, such as engaged school climate, restorative justice, personalized learning program, and strong student-adult relationships that enrich the TDAE's deliberations.
One of the things that we do every single day is when the students come in, we have door-to-door transportation for our students because they come from such a wide range of places. So when every kid comes into school, the majority of our staff is outside greeting them, saying hello. And initially they start out as sullen kids who avoid you and who just walk right by you. And sometimes after a while, every time by the end of the year, every kid is saying hello, and they expect that, and they anticipate that, and we might be the first friendly face, and maybe sometimes the only friendly face they see in that day. So that's the most valuable thing we have as a school, is to be able to provide kids with a place where they feel welcome, a place where they feel safe, a place where they feel valued. So we start the day with that, and that's the biggest thing we do as far as school safety, is we make them feel like this is a place you belong. And even if a kid the following day had a really bad day and some pretty tough stuff happened, they're still greeted with a friendly face and they're greeted with open arms. And we process that with them. At our school we utilize a lot of restorative educational practices, but we process things with them because school is too valuable. The time in school is too valuable to have kids sitting in a room wasting a half hour of their day in a detention. We have the obligation to every kid to provide opportunities to learn throughout the day, no matter what happens.
So I think when we have local stakeholders and state level stakeholders that are willing to really do the work and willing to really be supportive, that helps the students see hope in their future. So I think connecting all these people, it's really critical to the work being done. It's not just the teacher, the principal, the superintendent. It's really a large-scale effort to make sure these students graduate and have successful lives beyond high school.
TDAE members bring a special insight into the needs of students who are dealing with life-changing events, such as being a teen parent. Committee Chair Dorothy Foote offers a unique perspective on these students based on her experience overseeing the Passages program, one of 2 educational programs offered through Wayfinder schools.
Teen parents' problems are really access to school, getting to school, and having quality daycare for their child. So what we do in that program is we actually, the delivery is key. We actually bring teachers into the students' homes to work with them on parenting skills, which is key. And then when you think about it, a parent is a child's first teacher. So we work with that young parent to, through literacy, numeracy, et cetera, to make sure that they are a high-quality teacher as well.
Again, every child deserves to be successful, and I'm a firm believer that your zip code or the nature of your community should not be an indicator of what your success is going to be. So I believe it's important for the department or for leaders to be sharing that message, to be reinforcing that message, and again, calling out those places that we see are not moving in a forward direction. But again, with that, providing the support. So it's not just exposing a place where there's an area of risk or challenge, but having some suggested strategies and supports that are available as well.
Knowledge of the challenges students face informs the TDAE's deliberations, identifying core issues and ways to help students get back on track so that they can move past painful and difficult events, such as bullying and its repercussions, to complete their education is at the core of the committee's work.
The bullying was a big problem, and I missed a lot of school. I really wish somebody would have pushed me to go to school.
There wasn't anybody that really cared too much about the bullying. They just thought it was teenagers being teenagers, and that's not the case whatsoever. For example, my sister was bullied too, and she never went to school, so it's a shame that high schools don't take it as serious as it is.
I missed out on a lot of education, and it is so hard to get that education back. Because then you gotta work towards your G. I dropped out in 9th grade, so I gotta go get that education from 9th to 12th just to get my GED. And while I'm maintaining to try to do that, I have to keep up with a minimum wage job, which is really hard to live off of.
Jada worked last night from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. this morning. And that's because she doesn't have a high school diploma yet. And those are the type of jobs that she is going to have to continue to get at minimum wage that doesn't take care of her bills and doesn't take care of her family. So it's important for me to have her believe in herself and understand that she can be an important member of society, pay taxes, do those things that are important for society.
See, it's people like Janie that make you realize that schooling is very important, and it is about you and continuing and what you want to do. It's not about what somebody says you should do. It's about you making your own decision.
When you look at a true effective intervention model, it may be tiered. I mean, we know that in many states and in many schools, there's a common structure of response to intervention that has 3 tiers of support. And I think one of the things that is sometimes left behind is looking at the other side, the social emotional side to that triangle, as it were, and not just the academic. And when you include those social emotional needs, then just as you would look at all students at tier 1 and provide general supports and information, then as you move up those tiers, then you increase the levels and types of support. Likewise, I think that there are a lot of supports that we can give kids on that tier 1, such as restorative justice and different initiatives that involve all students within a school, so that what you're actually doing is creating a culture and a climate of acceptance for all students.
You have to have a positive and healthy school climate. And so that's always on the forefront. That's always on our minds. That's always something that we are talking about. And what does a healthy school climate look like? Is it one of punitive and adversarial practices, or is it one of skill building, collaboration, non-punitive, non-adversarial, relationship building? And I think the TDAE has been very strong in saying it isn't one size fits all. And so there are a number of different programs or a number of different initiatives occurring across the state that are supporting a healthy school climate. And one may work beautifully for one area and another may work better for another. So it's about having those tools in your toolkit to be able to pull from.
When you send a student out of school for 2 days suspension, they're missing 2 days of school. That's it's just antithetical to pulling people into relationship and engaging them with learning. Deficit damage-based language doesn't work. You got 15 wrong out of 40, test. What about the number I got right? Well, let's look at those pieces that I got right and then build on the positives of what a student can do.
Well, I think they're a great resource for looking at the data, assisting the department in that work. And because they have the different perspectives, when you're looking at the information the data brings, you're going to bring those perspectives as well. So that can really enhance the conversations.
At the Real School, TDAE committee member Martin Mackey identifies and demonstrates the importance of positive student-adult relationships, a best practice that helps comprise the committee's toolkit.
Creating the relationship is the essence of why we're successful, because we spend time with every kid creating that relationship and creating that two-way communication where a student can say their feeling and talk about what's going on in their lives or talk about what's going on in the classroom, and then we can address that in an educational way, in a real way, so that they know that sometimes we might not accommodate them, or they might not get what they want, but we're always doing it with their best intent. And I say that with complete fidelity, that over the last 11 years, I think one of the biggest things that I've done is every day I do my I do as well as I try my hardest to be as respectful as possible and to offer those kids an opportunity to be treated with respect and dignity that they might not get anyplace else. And with that mindset, I've been able to be pretty successful working with kids and going back and having them, at least they understand where I'm coming from. They understand that I'm someone that's going to treat them with respect.
For a student, they need to be balanced socially, emotionally, behavior, and academically. And when you have a student who there's a red flag attached to them, or however you want to identify them, when they come to you, you're triaging. You say, what is going on here? And if you understand the juvenile justice system, if you understand the criminal system, because maybe there's some family issues going on, you understand substance abuse services, and anything that could help any of those three areas, then that student you're going to help them out and say, this is what you need, this is how we can break it down. So by having this committee represent that and then flowing it out to the districts, hopefully the districts are going to realize we need people in place that have knowledge of all of these different areas and why it's important, because every kid that comes to us is going to need something from, that need help with their social skills, emotional skills, behavior, academics.
Well, one of the good things is you have a lot of smart people from different backgrounds who can offer advice and give us strategies and other thoughts going forward. And statewide, we've seen growth, fairly satisfying growth, not just 1 or 2 digits, every so many years. So we don't want to see a situation, and this is what the committee can help us with, where the reason a particular school district is seeing a jump in graduation is just because they lowered their standards and they're handing out the diplomas in a way they hadn't in the past. We need to know not only are we graduating and presenting diplomas to kids, but we're doing so because they have reached a level of learning that's going to help them be successful going forward.
Yeah, really have to take a look at every situation and make that investment in the student to figure out what's their story and how do you deal with it. Actually creating a roadmap for every single student that walks through your door and every single student who's struggling.
And having a sort of advisory group of that nature is a lot more comfortable from the perspective of a commissioner to say, let's all sit down and figure out what's the best way to do this, rather than sit down with 1 or 2 staff people who are involved in that area and the 2 of us or 3 of us put our minds together. Having that kind of input is helpful. The fact that they meet regularly is also helpful. And in a lot of other cases, what we'll do with a programmatic idea or new funding source or what have you is pull together a task force or a working group or something of people in that area in schools from all over the state. And in this case, we don't have to. We just know they put it on the next meeting's agenda, and that is a helpful thing. And with those kind of things, you bring a group together, and then they go back to what they were doing with this group. They know each other. They meet regularly. They stay in touch, and that's, I think, helpful, too, to be able to sort of plug in, hey, we've got this either problem or need or resource, and normally in the office I'll find 2 or 3 people and we'll talk about it. But in this case, there's a group I know will meet sometime within the next 30 days or so, and we can see what their opinion is on it.
The committee has been in transition, but one of the things we recognized was that we did not have a system in place for effectively tracking where our alternative education environments were. And so how do you look at best practices if you don't even know where things are happening and what might be available for students? So that was one shift that the committee was able to make. I think they're also looking at other areas where legislation may need to be improved. We have truancy laws that are outdated, and so again, here's an opportunity for them to have a voice and to share those needs with the commissioner and, when necessary, with legislative members.
Well, I think certainly for me, being on this committee for a few years, just starting this year, having the summit and having research around us and researchers with us is a big boost. I'm a researcher, so it's been really important to look at hard evidence and current data. So I think that initiative just this summer and this past year for this committee has launched us into helping schools create a doable dropout prevention template.
That the information needs to go in sort of in more than one way, so that if we bring other players, strong business people, our foundations, and in addition to our policymakers and our sort of agency, designated folks, if we bring everyone together and we can only strengthen what we know to be good strategies, and then subsequently, hopefully, good policy making. I don't think that's going to be easy, but I do think that when we're together in that group, that we can have a greater impact.
From my perspective, it's about that. What excites me about the TDAE and why I continue to be excited about staying is I think the vision of having that law that went into the law that said every school system has to have a dropout prevention committee is awesome. And when I've had opportunities to do presentations, I talk about that Maine is fairly unique because we have that law. But there's a big leap between law and reality. And I think this committee gives us the opportunity to find a way to sort of make that a vision of the reason that we want every single district to have a dropout prevention committee become a reality in terms of being effective.
I think it would help drastically if there was some type of anything in a high school that kids could go to and feel like they're welcome and they can say exactly how they feel and don't have to feel like they're being reported or don't have to feel like they're being judged. If there would have been something like that when I was going to high school, I wouldn't have had to go through a lot of things that I had to. And it's a shame that any other kid would have to feel like that. So that would help drastically.